and that's why they call me bad company. I can't deny bad company till the day.
What's going on, Pirate?
What's going on, Raider Nation?
All right, Raider Nation, welcome to the W2W Review, a special edition. We're going to be covering the Las Vegas fiasco. Right now, social media is blowing up. Everybody is panicking. Everybody has finally hit the panic button. The Raiders are moving to Vegas, or at least everybody's assuming. What we're going to do today is we're going to bring in a special guest to help kind of clear the air of exactly what is going on at this moment with the Las Vegas talks. So joining us via his telephone is none other than Scott Winters from Last Word Sports, also known as Carolina Raider. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having me back on.
No, absolutely. Anytime, man. We really appreciate your time. And there's a lot of stuff being said right now. There's a lot of things going on in social media. We got Mark Davis reportedly on his way to Vegas. The report that I read talks about he's going to go help close the deal because yesterday there was a big vote. What could you tell us about that vote that went on yesterday, brother?
Okay, so you have two houses in the Nevada legislature. You've got the Senate, you've got the Assembly. Both houses have to come to an accord on the SB 1, which is the Senate Bill 1. And only one house yesterday did, not the Assembly, but just the Senate. Now, they had to get a two-thirds majority vote. This is a super majority vote to pass a tax increase in the state of Nevada. Now, they did that 16-5. They voted for funding the $750 million in public funds. But just the Senate, it still has to have the Assembly still has to vote on it. They took a break today for Yom Kippur, and they will go back at it Thursday morning. So that's where we're at right this second.
Okay, so it's fair to say that all the reports that are being leaked out now, I mean, it's so premature, right? There's the biggest vote, and for everything that I understand from it, the biggest vote takes place tomorrow, correct?
I don't believe that there's going to be a vote necessarily tomorrow. There could be, but the Assembly kind of bought some of the language of what they were doing on Tuesday, so they kind of had to start from scratch. I mean, that's oversimplifying, but so they will go and start the process of working on their version of the bill. Now, there's a lot more Assembly folks. There's 42 as opposed to 21. They need 28 votes to pass this with a supermajority, which means there's only 24 Republicans, so they have to get Democrats on board. And there's going to be some leakage in the Republicans as well. That's what I've been told. So they're probably going to need about 8 to 9 Democrats to switch, which there didn't seem to be a problem of that in the Senate vote on Tuesday. However, there's also a big process where there'll be amendments that they'll try to add to it. Like in the Senate yesterday, they added an amendment and voted it on where there has to be 15% of the subcontract work has to be specifically local to Clark County. They can't just bring in all these out-of-state companies for 100%. Minimum 15% has to be in Clark County region. So or Nevada. So there's that. So I mean, you don't know what the Assembly will do. They might add something that says, you know, that you have to have X amount of veterans or something like that. It just depends. Another amendment was shot down yesterday with the Senate. But it's a complicated process. So we don't know what's going to be the finished product. It should be something similar to what the Senate passed, but it could be enough difference that if they should pass it, and I'll say this, if they should pass it with different amendments, then it goes to committee. And in the committee, you get people from the Senate, people from the House, and they kind of go back and forth on it and go back to each house and see which will work, and they come up with a final product of a bill. If the language is changed enough, they then have to re-vote on that as a full Assembly and Senate.
Carolina,
So, I mean, they might not have to, though. So.
Okay, Carolina, let me ask you a question here, and I have it's sort of a two-pronged question. What is it that Mark Davis is headedly reporting to Nevada to do? There's a lot of information being leaked that he's going there to help to close the stadium deal. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, tell us a little bit about the owners. I believe if they find 9 no's, they can also stop this process from happening, regardless of what else goes on. I mean, again, you could take them to court and do all kinds of different things. But can you give us a little bit of insight on exactly, have you heard Mark Davis is going? What is he going for? And if they do get the votes and the owners meet in Houston and they basically say no, what happens then?
Man, you just went right to the $1 million or $750 million questions right there. From what I've heard, my sources have and I got good sources on this, have said that Mark Davis is not really going there to hammer this home. He's going there to thank the people of Nevada for their votes. I've heard that he's going there to push this through and whatnot, but I'm hearing other things where it's a done deal as far as that goes, that they will have the votes, minimum 28, and then they will be voting on it more than likely Friday. Because that's when Mark's supposed to be there, Friday, not Thursday. Now, if he was going to go there Thursday, I would listen to my sources and go, hey, wait a second, he's going there Thursday. Are they voting Thursday? I would be wondering what's going on because, maybe he goes there and speaks before the crowd. But I've heard that it's basically for a photo op and to talk about the silver and black state and some of the other comments that he's made. That's that question. Now, should Nevada pass this? Should Nevada, with 2/3 votes in both houses, and it's signed off by the governor, which is that's a no-brainer there. He's going to, if it passes. Then it's then packaged up and sent to Clark County, where they have to implement it. Mark Davis will take that voted on bill, inked and signed, and he will take that to the owners' meeting on the 18th, which is this month in Houston. There will be a lot of discussion there on that. I've got some other information. I'll talk about it later. But they'll discuss that, and then in January, Mark is going to ask for relocation. If they don't get the 24 votes, if 9 people, 9 owners, or 10 or whatever, if they vote against it, then that's when it's going to get really ugly. I don't. This is the thing. I actually spoke to Amy Trask about this, and I asked her. I said, "What are the odds, and what are the chances that Mark Davis would file an antitrust lawsuit?" I said, "Given that he's been, approved to move to L.A., and it's hard to walk that back." To use Jason Cole's words earlier today, it's kind of hard to walk about, to say, oh, you were okay to move before, but now you're not. I said, what are the odds of that? And Amy was like, she said that's a very difficult path. And the reason is that since Al Davis did it earlier, they have restructured the contract between the owners and the NFL and how it works together, to really, really make it very difficult for an antitrust lawsuit to work. Once you sign a contract, and you're part of a group, under the language, it's very difficult, is what she said. And I pressed her. I said, but look at what's going on with this. They said this and this, about they've approved them. They've done, it would look bad. I said, he's got the money. He's got Sheldon Adelson behind him. Well, she said it might be a whole lot of fuss. It might take years. But in the end, more than likely the NFL would prevail. Now, the threat of an antitrust lawsuit is actually more dangerous in this situation than the results. Because this would bloody everybody. If they actually go to court, NFL's probably going to win, but it would be a bloody, nasty, public display. You would learn everything, the complete inner workings of the NFL, because it would all be made public record. These are things that owners don't want to know one out there. So the threat of that is actually worse, has more teeth than the actual legal side of it. So at least that was what Amy Trask told me, and well, she's an expert. I'll defer to her on that.
Yeah, one more thing. I mean, what I read was that basically the NFL, the leg that they would have to stand on in this situation, as opposed to most other situations, is the fact that Vegas, for the players' perspective, there's prostitution, there's gambling, there's 24/7, and they could go the route of saying, in order to protect our players and things like this, gambling being, I think, the biggest thing, even though a lot of people have said that's not as big of a thing as people are making it out to be these days. But in your opinion, and we're going to have to go out and then come back in and discuss this in more detail, but in your opinion, do you think that would hold any weight, that the NFL could come forward and say Las Vegas is unlike some of these other places?
Doubtful. Just about every state that the NFL is in has gambling. Just about every state the NFL in has illegal prostitution. At the casino that my wife works for, that I've done consulting for, worked for 10 years, we see NFL players there a lot. From the Falcons, from the Panthers. Jose Canseco's coming there, but Major League Baseball players. Gambling is everywhere. Plus, 28 out of 32 teams are signed into some form of agreement with either FanDuel or DraftKings. They don't have that to stand on. So what they have to stand on is the language of their contract between all of the owners. And although it has not been court tested, I will say this: it did stifle Seattle from moving to Los Angeles a few years back when they tried to. They literally tried to pack up and move, and the NFL was able to just stop them in their tracks, push them back, force the owner to sell to Paul Allen, and get a stadium deal out of it, all in one shebang. You can look it up. It's really an interesting story. So it has teeth. They even with it's a little bit less because of what them authorizing the Raiders to move, but it's still very complicated and very difficult for an antitrust suit to work here.
All right.
Well, like I've said many times, this is like a big spider web here. This is like a big complex situation. Whether it gets voted on by this weekend and the $750 million pass, it has to take on a whole nother enemy called the NFL. So there's still a lot of stuff that we have to wade through and figure out. But we got to take a quick break. And we get back, we're going to continue our conversation with Scott Winters, a.k.a. Carolina Raider from The Last Word Sports. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
Hey, man, is that Freedom Rock? Yeah, man. Well, turn it up, man. Lord, I was born a rambling man. All over the world, everybody join in. Start a love tree. The ink is black, the page is white. Turn it down, man. Hey, man, remember the good old days? War, protest. Going to jail. Well, man, we found this new album called Freedom Rock. It's got all those great songs we used to groove to back then. Just listen.
I said, whoa, good God, y'all.
Don't you want somebody to love? Maybe I'll be there to shake your hand. Maybe I'll be there to share the land. Making friends for the world to see. To everything turn. If I leave here tomorrow. Freedom Rock has it all, man. 40 original rock hits by the original artists. On 4 records, 3 cassettes, or 2 CDs. Here's more. In a white room with black curtains. You see, I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Sunshine go away today. We may never bless this way again. Come on, people now. Man, you should get get Freedom Rock too. 4 records or 3 cassettes are only $19.95. 2 CDs, only $24.95. Here's how to order.
Credit card and COD customers call toll-free 1-800-248-6800 or save COD fees by sending $19.95 for 4 records or 3 cassettes or $24.95 for 2 compact discs, plus $3 shipping and handling to Freedom Rock, 1033 Fleet National Bank Building, Department A, Providence, Rhode Island.
All right, welcome back to the W2W Review, where we're joined by Scott Winters, a.k.a. Carolina Raider from Last Word Sports, profootball.com. Scott, before we get into this, before we turn this up, let's go ahead and I want to retouch more basis on this whole NFL issue. I know that it's been reported that Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft, that they were actually supporting the Vegas stuff. Have you heard anything from the NFL front on some of these owners and where they stand? I mean, I think you would think that they would kind of already put a stop to this if they weren't at least interested in Vegas itself, right?
I would agree with that. That's they could have easily put the kibosh on this. Instead, Roger Goodell sent out that memo back in January about, look, we're not saying nothing about Vegas. And then, of course, all the owners then immediately said something about Vegas. So there's that. But they are very fascinated, very interested in what's going on in Las Vegas. From a business perspective, Las Vegas counts as an untapped market that taps into international money. It's considered virgin territory. It also has doubled its economy every 10 years for the last 40 years. So they look at the growth opportunity. They're looking at opening up an entirely new market and bringing in entirely new corporate entities. I mean, for the longest time, I mean, the casinos haven't even been able to use the word Super Bowl. I mean, the NFL sued them and said you can't do that. So, I mean, there's a lot of excitement about that opportunity. Now, when I say opportunity, that's all it is. I mean, this isn't a done deal. Intrigued would be a fantastic word. Intrigued. They're very intrigued about this opportunity. And if the numbers come back right, it'll be hard-pressed for them to kind of push that under the rug when you've got Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft and some of the other owners that have been mentioned pushing for this. Now, that information comes straight from Steve Wynn. And Steve Wynn has talked to a whole bunch of the owners. He goes and has dinner with these guys. Steve Wynn is a very, as far as an individual player, he's a very big player in Las Vegas. His company is more small time. I mean, the big giants are MGM with the biggest, and Caesars Entertainment. But both of those are corporations where you have CEO Jim Murren, and then you have CEO. Gosh, I've worked for the man. Honey, what's the CEO? What's the there's CEO? No. Oh, Gary Loveman. Jeez, I can't believe I blanked on that. Anyways, Gary Loveman. Those are your big CEOs. And then, of course, Sheldon Adelson, who's more of an individual player himself, but he is the absolutely largest individual fish in the whole state and most of the country, actually. He's like the third wealthiest man in the United States. They're saying that the NFL owners are good with this. Now, here's the thing. This is the scoop that Jason Cole touched on a few weeks ago, and I have verified through some other sources, is that remember we talked about this about 3 months ago, about the TIF, which was a tax incremental finance district, and that's where Sheldon Adelson was going to get his money. That is no longer part of this deal. So Sheldon Adelson has no deal other than his percentage of what the stadium actually makes. There's no kickbacks, and Mark Davis flat out told him he's not getting any part of the team. Even though Sheldon Adelson went on Yahoo at the beginning of the last month and said otherwise. That didn't happen. No, there's no percentage of the team. There's no tax incremental financing, which is going to be about $25 million kickback a year. So that money's gone. and it has to be made up somewhere. So right now, from what I've been told, there is no deal between Sheldon Adelson and Mark Davis, except for the bill, where they actually, he's funding this and he's funding that. Mark Davis got the $500 million, Sheldon Adelson got up to $650 million, et cetera. But there's actually no revenue split deal currently. That's intriguing, and that's from what I've been told. So these stories that you hear about, maybe the owners they're unsure of this revenue split, or they're kind of pulling back a little bit, saying, well, we're not sure. You're going to hear a lot of that over the next month or two, and especially pushing out rumors where the NFL is going to be a developer of the Oakland Coliseum, the new one. There's a lot of rumors going around out there, and a lot of that is designed to kind of push leverage on Sheldon Adelson to broker a revenue split on the actual stadium with Mark. That's the inside scoop. That's the best information I got on all this. It's kind of being pushed under the rug. So. Well,
let me ask you a question, though. Here too. We also touched on something a little while ago, and you just touched on it in the first half. When you talked about Seattle wanting to be able to move to Los Angeles, the NFL forcing Seattle to sell the team to someone like Paul Allen, who redesigned the stadium and did all those types of things. And then they allowed someone like Stan Kroenke, several times over billionaire type of individual, to come into the LA market. Could there be any similarities here where the NFL says, look, let's give you the money you need to stay. Let's block you from moving to Vegas, force you to sell the team to somebody else, and then allow somebody like Khan to take the Jacksonville Jaguars and to move them into Vegas, where he has the money to fund his own stadium, very similarly to what Stan Kroenke was able to do. Is there any possibility that this could take the same type of spin? And how much more difficult is it that Mark Davis is, a legacy person? It was his father's team, and he wants to continue to do it. I'm sure it'll be a little bit harder in this instance than in the Seattle instance.
Yeah, the Seattle deal is they tried to move the team without a relocation. I mean, only Al Davis in the history of the league has moved without a relocation vote. All of the other ones, Texas, the Houston, the Oilers, the Browns, the Colts, they all moved. The Rams.
The Ravens.
Twice.
Yeah.
They all moved with actual relocation votes. Now, some of them were denied at first. I mean, Georgia Funk, the old owner of the Rams.
Georgia Funk.
She threatened to sue if they didn't let her move. Now, they at first they voted against her, and then they acquiesced and voted allow her to move. And the Ursay, he moved with a vote. Cleveland, Art Modell moved with a vote, although that was more complicated because he still had a contract. And not only was there a contract, Cleveland immediately passed funds to build a new stadium. It was like, oh, you want us to? Okay, boom, there it is. We've got your money. And it was like, Art Modell didn't know what to do. He was kind of like, okay. Right. And so the NFL, the Cleveland sued the NFL, and then part of that broker deal was they kept the Browns. And Modell became the Ravens, and they were going to get the next expansion. So that was because of a contractual thing. Same with the Houston Oilers; they broke their contract to leave, and part of that broker deal was they had to give up the name, and that's why they're the Titans now instead of the Oilers. Of course, Houston didn't choose to keep that name, but they could have if they had wanted to. And of course, down the road, they got another team because that was part of the agreement. The Raiders don't have a contract. I mean, when I say that, I mean they're at the end of the year, they have options. They're not under contract. They have an option for a 1-and-1, which means they can spend another couple of years here. They are on the hook for about $10 to $12 million if they leave early and don't engage those options. because because of the training facility and some other things that were built into the lease. You can find that on Scribble. It's pretty awesome. It's actually pretty interesting. But no, here's the scenario. They can't. The NFL can't strip the team for Mark unless he really does something that's against the policies and procedures, the NFL contract. He's not. He's not done anything. He's played ball. He's making money. I mean, even with his stadium revenue has gone up over the year to year, but his ancillary revenue, the jersey sales, merchandise, all of that has gone through the roof. I mean, he went from 32nd, 31st in revenue to 20th in revenue from 2015 to 2016. Now he's making money, and since he's been with the franchise, he took it over. He's consistently made money, so he's not in danger of losing his team to, say, financial difficulties either. But if you were to push to Vegas without the authority of the NFL, you never know what they can do. I mean, if they could let it slide, they could jerk the franchise from him. They could do all, and offer him compensation for it, of course. They can do a lot of different things unless he wins a court battle. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. So bringing in the Jags or San Diego, I've heard San Diego, I've heard the Jags, I've heard those rumors. Jacksonville's really kind of working on going to London. They signed contracts to play a home game in London for the next 4 to 5 years, and they're really pushing to kind of work that angle. Now, Khan has a contract, like another 15 years on his contract. So I don't know what kind of deal that would be. Then, what kind of breach and how much they'd have to compensate the city of Jacksonville for if they did that. So, I mean, that's a murky situation all unto itself. San Diego, they're not moving to Vegas. All of this is being done for Mark Davis. Nevada's doing all this for Mark Davis. Mark Davis negotiated whatever he negotiated to Houston last year. I've heard a lot of different things that this was part of it, but and I've also heard that the NFL set the bar for the $750 million public funding. That's why that's why there was no negotiation. They're like, well, what about $550 million? And they were like, $750 million. Well, what about $750 million? And finally, you saw Andy About and Adelson speak to it publicly, and they said, hey, the NFL set this money. I mean, people were saying, well, that was all stands. They were going to walk away. The NFL set the bar. Two people said it publicly, that the NFL set $750 million and said, this is what it requires for you to get an NFL franchise. That franchise is the Raiders. Still, though, there's no deal between Adelson and Mark Davis. If that doesn't happen, then the owners are going to vote against it, because for the simple fact that has to happen. There has to be a revenue split, and it has to be a revenue split that the NFL owners expect. I don't see that happening. I see them coming to an accord, but I still remember Inglewood '95. So anything can happen still.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for the information. For people that do want to follow you, I believe they could go to The Last Word on Pro Football Sports. Is that what it is? Or
yeah. No, it's Last Word on ProFootball.com. They can Google that. Take a look at some of my articles. I'm part of the Oakland group, the Oakland Raider group, or they can check me out on Twitter. It's my handle's Carolina Raider fan, but the it's at Carolina_Raider. That's how you find me. And I'm on there way too much. So,
okay.
Cool. They're I've got about 8-10 articles published on this. Of course, I still have my roots at Silver and Black Pride, which it's a fantastic site if you're a Raider fan. I think Levi Damien runs a tight ship over there. But you can check me out on Twitter. You can check me out at Last Word on Pro Football. So I'm just thankful you guys brought me on.
All right, last word.
Go ahead and take it.
Last word. We've got about a minute here. Where do you think we're at? What is your prediction? What do you think is going to happen next year? Just in your opinion.
I think this is going to pass. I think Mark Davis is going to have his victory speech there, and then I think the roller coaster really begins. I think you're going to hear it is going to be a storm of different rumors and different people putting out different information. They're all going to be credible people, and you're going to be like, what do I believe? Where am I going with this? And it's until there's a deal between Mark Davis and Adelson, it's gonna be like a roller coaster. So that's what I see happening until the owners vote. And I'm not predicting that yet. I mean, I have my belief, my view, but so much can go off the rail in the meantime.
All right.
So.
Okay, well, once again, we appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate the information that you gave us, and we will stay tuned. And so, go ahead and check out your site as new information comes up. Thanks again for calling, man.
Appreciate you.
Okay, take care.
All right, now joining us on the W2W review from his phone and travels is none other than Stephen Michaels from the Raiders Daily. What's going on, Stephen?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, welcome to the show again, man. We got a lot of interesting news coming out today, all over social media. I'm sure you're all up to date with it. That Mark Davis is on his way to Vegas. What are your thoughts on what's going on in Las Vegas at this point?
Well, Mark Davis should be there on Friday to address everything that's going on. And listen, I did not think this was going to get this far, but we are here. It is happening. So get ready.
So as far as your sources and what you've learned, what have you heard about exactly what the vote is going to entail? I heard as early as tomorrow, but now we talked to somebody else that says Friday. What are your sources telling you?
Yeah, well, tomorrow is Yom Kippur, so I think they're not going to have it because of that. So according to people I talked to at Las Vegas Journal, it's either going to be Friday or Saturday, but they think it's going to be Friday. But he's leaving tomorrow, so who knows? But I think it's going to be Friday just because of the holiday thing. But yeah, he's going to take questions, I guess, and everything. He's going to do a full-fledged Q&A.
Stephen, we had Carolina Raider on the show as well, and he talked about the fact that Mark Davis does not have a deal right now with Sheldon Adelson in terms of a revenue sharing type of deal. They may have an agreement in place, but that they don't have a revenue sharing deal, and without that, the NFL may try to block this move. And all they need, I guess, is 9 owners to say, we don't know how this is going to be split, how it's going to affect, the business with the team and the NFL. Have you heard anything about any of that?
No. Well, I can tell you for a fact that from Bob Kraft to Jerry Jones, the owners are on board with this. So I don't know anything about Carolina Raider or who that is, but yeah, I did not hear that. In fact, the only thing I'm hearing is optimism. A lot of people are saying this is a great thing. There's no viable plan in Oakland, and other owners see that. So I haven't heard anything as far as that goes as not happening. If anything, this is going very fast. Usually stadiums don't, getting a new stadium and things like that take a little while. And to have a special session called and all these things happen, I mean, this is on the fast track. This is really going fast. And there's probably a reason for that, but I haven't heard anything like that the NFL is going to try blocking it or anything like that.
Yeah, so in your opinion, right now, at this point, you're seeing this pretty much as a done deal, you think?
Yeah, I hate to say that, but yeah, the only way this is not a done deal is if, well, it's even hard to say it's not a done deal, but the only way is if somehow the NFL, and I'm talking like Roger Goodell, the NFL, somehow acts as a developer, tells Oakland that, and they get the, something happens with that. But then you even got more problems. You got the whole land issue. You got the A's who are in the middle of a 10-year lease. There really is, I know people in Oakland, they take it to heart, but there really is there's no viable option. There's nothing really Mark Davis can do if you really think about it. I mean, the A's are there. What's going to happen with them? They're not leaving anytime soon. They're in a 10-year lease. So, and Vegas, I mean, everything is lining up perfectly for the Raiders to move there. But keep in mind, even if the Raiders move to Vegas, they're still going to be in Oakland for the next, 2 years. So, yeah, I think it's going to happen, though. It's almost like it's done.
Jace?
Yeah, Steven, I know for myself, I've sitting here been waiting for years now to hear something out of Oakland that is positive. Now, I know there's a great movement over there to keep them in Oakland. That's exactly where I want them to be. I really want them to stay in Oakland. I was born in Fremont, so I'm from that area. So it just has a big special place in my heart. And I had to go through the whole them leaving to LA and then the excitement of them coming back. Been a season ticket holder since '95 when they did come back. But at the end of the day, it doesn't look as if Oakland has much to offer, like you've said. And on top of the fact, you would think with everything moving at such a fast pace in Vegas, that somebody from the Oakland or Alameda side of things would have come forward already and really started pushing things a little faster. And if anything, made it public just to kind of keep the storm from brewing. Because if this goes down,
especially when the special session was announced, I thought for sure the mayor, Libby Schaaf, something would happen. You know what I mean? Like some kind of, message to the fans that they're doing something. But the reality is, and this is the reality, and reporters like Vinny Baltimore from LA Daily News, this guy is completely on top of it. And he's been calling it 100% correctly ever since this started. Unlike other people, this guy knows people. Trust me. He knows the people involved. And he's been telling me straight up that Raiders are going to Vegas. Oakland is a dead end. There's nothing they can do about it. Mark Davis's hands are tied. He's been saying that now for 2 years. And I know there's some hate for him, but I don't blame him. You know what I mean? NFL is a big business now. This is 2016. It's not 1990 anymore, or even year 2000. NFL is huge. And for Vegas to have an NFL team, I mean, I can ask a Raider fan that doesn't live anywhere near there, would you rather go to Las Vegas for a weekend or Oakland for a weekend? Guaranteed you 99.9% are going to say, I'd rather go to Las Vegas for the weekend to go see a Raiders game.
Yeah, and it also looks like Oakland doesn't have the $750 million in free cash. You know what I mean? Like right now, this is basically
Correct.
A free $750 million that Las Vegas is saying we will give to you.
Oakland's not willing to pay anything
right.
either. Like the mayor said, the money, she believes the money would be better off spent for libraries and things like that. Now, me, I'd much rather have an NFL team in my city than a bunch of empty libraries, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I think they're making a big mistake. I really do. I don't think Oakland should lose the Raiders. In my heart, I just think the Raiders should stay in California, even if it's not in Oakland, if it's in L.A. I grew up with them being in L.A., so it's not a big deal to me. But, yeah, I don't know. The only thing I fear about this whole Las Vegas thing is the home field advantage. What happens when they play a team like the Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers or Steelers? I just have a bad feeling about that aspect. But everything else, I'm down with. And at the end of the day, trust me, I've been into the press rooms in Oakland, and it's disgusting. And they need a new place. They really do. They need a new home. They can't play there forever. A's are going to stay there for 10 years. I don't believe that. So, yeah, they need a new home, and that's what it comes down to. And Las Vegas is stepping up with the money and everything else, so it's kind of hard to say no to that. And it's going to be hard for the NFL to say no to that as well.
Yeah, and my biggest concern at this point, my biggest concern at this point is, and well, I guess it's not much of a concern. It's going to be what it's going to be. What I'm going to be interested in seeing, at least by Saturday, we have a home game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So if this vote goes through and Mark Davis gives this big old heartfelt speech right there in Las Vegas, what is the crowd going to be like at the home game against Kansas City? I mean, it could get out of hand. So I'm hoping, if anything, if this all goes through, that Libby Shaft or somebody from the Oakland Brass actually steps up and actually says, "Oh, wait a minute, this is what we got going on." If that doesn't happen, it could be a crazy weekend in Oakland this weekend.
Yeah, but there's so many dead ends. You know what I mean? Like all these reports that come out of Oakland, they all end up being nothing. I mean, I don't live in Oakland, right? Okay? I just read papers, and I know people who live there. And I see these reports, and then I ask people about them that know things, that are national media people, and they always tell me, "Oh, no, that's BS. That's not, Oakland's not doing nothing." And then I'll read something, "Oh, Oakland has the Ronnie Watt group," and that turns out to be really nothing. And then everything, it just piles up. But listen, I don't know what the fans are going to do. I don't understand the fan that says, like the city fan or whatever, that says if Raiders leave, then I'm not going to be a Raider fan no more. In my opinion, they should just stop being a fan now. If you hate the owner that much, let me give you an example. I don't like Steve Jobs when he was alive. I didn't like that guy. I never bought an Apple product in my life, and I still don't, because I hated it. I don't think that guy was a nice guy. So if someone hates the owner of that team so much, why are they buying his merchandise? Why are they buying his tickets? And they have such hatred for this person. Why? Well, why put yourself through that? I don't understand it. Why put yourself through that emotional roller coaster of just hating someone? And, and I don't know. I think there's enough Raider fans nationally that they'll probably be okay. Remember, they got the phrase Raider Nation for a reason. I travel around the country. I see Raider fans everywhere. So, it's more – I hate to say this. I know Oakland people will get mad, but the Raiders are bigger than Oakland. They are a national brand. And, that's what's going to happen probably. They're going to be in Vegas as a big national brand with a nice, big, huge stadium. And perhaps the Raiders win a Super Bowl in Vegas. Who knows?
Yeah, well, you know what? It is rather unfortunate. I guess the smartest thing, if you look at the history of what's been going on, the smartest thing that Mark Davis did was basically sign a lease option for a couple of years. He puts it into a position where no matter what happens, the fans aren't going to get too upset. At this point, we're winning. That they're going to be there, like you said, for at least until the stadium gets built. So it's not they're gone at the end of the season. So he kind of set it up in a way where he could make this transition and still keep I think, a solid fan base with a football team that's winning. But it really is unfortunate that it has come down to this, that the city won't move forward. It's going to become Detroit. You're going to lose the Warriors. You're already losing the Warriors. You're going to lose the Raiders. Sooner or later, the A's, even if they have the entire market, they're not going to want to stay there. And like you said, the abandoned libraries and the abandoned buildings are not going to bring any revenue into the city. Stephen Michaels, we appreciate you coming on again. This is an extended segment. We appreciate everybody who has watched. Normally, we try to keep these shows to about 30 minutes, so they're easily digestible. But we thought that we had two great guests that could come on. Stephen, can you tell everybody once again your Twitter handle and how they can follow you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, real quick, Raiders they might be playing preseason games in Vegas starting next season. Anyways, My Twitter handle is at the Raiders Daily, and you can. My shows are on Mixcloud. I have an agreement with them, so I post them on Twitter. So it's at the Raiders Daily. Same thing on Facebook. That's what it is.
All right. Once again, thanks a lot, Jason.
All right. Once again, we'd like to thank both of our guests, Scott Winters, a.k.a. Carolina Raider from the, what is it, Last Word Pro Football. .com writer, and our guest today, Stephen Michaels from the Raiders Daily. We'd like to thank both of you guys for coming on the show. We'd like to thank everybody for watching, and remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at The Will to Win, as well as, email us any questions and concerns at the W2W@gmail.com. That is the W2W@gmail.com. This has been brought to you by the Will to Win broadcast. For the Raider Pirate, I'm the Oakland Knight, and you stay Raider strong.
And that's why they call me